Congressman Tim Griffin joins us now by phone. He's in Washington right now. And Congressman, how are you?
I'm doing great. I just landed a little bit ago. I just flew up, and I go back Thursday night. I'll be back in Little Rock, so I think we'll overlap a little bit. And if we can cross paths while you're here, that'd be cool.
Yeah, if you can get over, just come on over to it's a Wardman Marriott's where we're going to be at.
Okay.
Come over and visit. We'll push somebody out of the way to get you on if that's the case. No problem. But
awesome.
Congressman, let's talk here. You're out beating the drum again about Keystone, which you should be because the president sure isn't beating it.
Well, I think you're referring to the survey that we created. We have a survey on my official website, griffin.house.gov, and you can go on there and tell us what you think about the Keystone Pipeline, whether you're for it, against it, why you're for it. You can, and most interestingly to me, you can tell your story. So if you've got a brother who's been laid off because the Keystone Pipeline's killed, you can tell us about it. If you've got relatives in Nebraska, or anywhere along the pipeline route, you can tell us about it. There have been a ton of folks from Arkansas, right in the 2nd Congressional District, who have commented about how it's impacting them. A lot of people think of Nebraska because that's where the debate has been over the route. But this is a long pipeline, and it impacts a lot of jobs in Arkansas.
Well, yeah. I mean, my son works out at Wellspun. He's told me that they've taken like 60, but there's a lot of guys that have been laid off that they've told, well, we might call you back, but only if this happens.
Right. I'll tell you what, if it's okay with you, I pulled some of the best responses there. These people put their names on the website, so I assume they're fine with me just reading it off. One of the comments is just my company is looking to supply Wellspun with our products, and the killing of Keystone has eliminated the need for the product. That's a Little Rock guy. And then here's a guy from Sherwood who wrote, my son-in-law works for the company making the pipe for Keystone. That's Wellspun.
Right.
He keeps getting laid off, and they're talking about closing the plant. Here's a guy that says, a man who owes me money is unable to pay because he was laid off at Wellspun. That's a North Little Rock lady. And it just goes on. I'm holding some of the top ones here. This guy says there was a possibility I could have worked at Wellspun, but since the pipeline was killed, there goes the job opportunity. There's a guy from Benton who says, I do bookkeeping and prepare tax returns. Some of my tax customers work for Wellspun, and they're in fear of losing their jobs. And then there's some general ones, just like one guy wrote, when the economy suffers, I suffer.
Right.
Another one wrote, I have a heating and air conditioning business. All prices are affected by oil prices and truck fuel usage. It just goes on and on. We've got, as of a little bit ago, we had almost 400 responses where people had written in. But we've got some poll numbers here for you, too, if you want to know.
Sure.
We asked people, do you think President Obama should approve the Keystone XL pipeline? 20% no, 80% yes. That is 115 to 448. And then, do you think Congress should override the president's decision, pass a bill to try to force him to approve it? And that's about the same, 21 no, 79 yes. And something that's real interesting, Dave, is when you look at why people support it, you would think the number one reason would be jobs.
Right.
But it's not.
What is it?
And that's the number two reason. The number one reason is becoming less dependent on Middle Eastern oil is good for U.S. national security.
Well,
44% say that's the most important reason.
Well, just think about it. I mean, people are watching the news. They see what's going on with Iran.
Yep.
They know what the problems are over there.
Yep. And number two is the pipeline will create thousands of new high-paying jobs for Americans. That's 33%. And then number three is importing oil from Canada can help stabilize U.S. energy prices. And number four is refusing to build a pipeline in the U.S. will only strengthen China's economy and energy supply. So we're going to be pushing this and just collecting these stories. And at some point when we get them, we're going to print them out and send them over to the White House, and we're going to send them to every office in the House and every office in the Senate. And maybe it'll have an impact. Maybe they can see what real folks back home are being, having to deal with in terms of this pipeline.
Well, Congressman, the problem is that the United States doesn't have a long-term energy policy, and that's why we're seeing the stories come out just today. Gas prices to raise 60 cents a gallon or higher by Memorial Day.
I saw that. The summer will be brutal if that in fact happens. And you know what's interesting, Dave? The president, I'm sure you watched State of the Union.
Oh, yeah.
The president repeatedly talked about American energy, American energy, American energy. He talked about American energy jobs. He talked about being less dependent, but he never talked about Keystone.
Oh no, that never came up. Neither did Obamacare.
Yeah. So he said he's for an all the above policy. What he means is, I am for all the above except for the Keystone, except for this, except for that. The point is, he's not really for all the above. This is the biggest no-brainer I've seen since being in Congress, and it's supported by Democrats and Republicans alike. At least most Democrats, I think, support it. In any event, I don't think this thing's over. That's why we're still talking about it. TransCanada said they're reapplying.
Okay.
And, there are going to be plenty of opportunities for him to say yes. And we want to just make sure that we want to make sure he has every opportunity available to say yes on this deal.
Well, Congressman, let me ask you one last question here. Could this be a political ploy? The president says no, to keep his environmentalists all happy. He knows that the unions are not happy with him about this because it's affecting them as well as non-union states. Bottom line is, does he say no for a long time? Then all of a sudden he says to his environmentalist friend, "Look, I did as much as I can. I can't do any more. I gotta buckle on this."
Well, I'm sure. Yeah, look, I'm sure that there's if it's Washington, and there's politics associated with it. But in terms of how he wants this to play out, but I would say this: my view is it's the right thing to do, and even if he comes up with some kind of way to make it, make no benefit him, we got to get this approved regardless. I can tell you, and you know this, there's only one reason why he's denied this thing, and it's politics. Because we found out this week, or last week, that he approved a similar pipeline a few years ago in another instance. This pipeline was denied for one reason and one reason only, and it's presidential politics. The environmentalists don't want it, the extreme environmentalists. The labor unions do want it, And he didn't want to make a decision between those two groups because they're both important, critical to his reelection. So he said in the fall, we're going to punt until after the presidential election. We'll decide then, which makes you and me say, well, wait a minute. You may know you need more time, but how do you know you're going to need that much more time?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, he knew because he was declaring it so. I'm going to need that much time because I am not going to approve this or disapprove it until after the election. So that's when the House said, whatever we do on this payroll tax deal, we're going to make sure that Keystone is a part of it. We forced his hand, and he just basically said, well, I'm going to get hurt either way, but I think I need the environmentalists. I need to do something for them more than I do the unions. The unions aren't going anywhere. He's taking them for granted. So he picked the environmentalists and denied it, and that is the reason. Every other reason cited is complete and utter nonsense. And if anybody believes anything other than presidential politics is influencing his decision on this, well, I'd love to sit down and walk you through some of the information we've got, because I just tell you, this is a no-brainer, and we need to approve it.
Where's that payroll tax fight at right now? Are you guys just taking a breather before you get back to taking the gloves off on that one?
Well, the good news is because we pushed for this, and I know it was a brutal fight, but we pushed for what we call regular order, which means follow the rules of the way the House and the Senate is supposed to work. Pelosi didn't do that. She didn't have a budget. She didn't pass approach bills. She didn't do conferences when you get the House and Senate together. We said we need a conference committee appointed by Harry Reid and the Speaker had been for it all along. So we got that done. What that means is members of the House, members of the Senate are sitting down working on the details of this agreement that we're going to come to. We're using regular order, which is the way that the House and Senate are supposed to always deal with their differences. So we'll see what comes out of that. It's not a done deal yet. I was watching it last week on C-SPAN, so I know they were still meeting. So we'll have to figure out when I get back over to the office building where we are on that. But stay tuned. Stay tuned.
All right, Congressman. If we get together, let's do so there in Washington on Thursday. All right.
Okay. Thank you, man.
Talk to you later
See
now.
y'all.
All right, Congressman Tim Griffin here on the Dave Elswick Show.